Hi, my name is Mark de Rooij. Today I'm going to show you how to master Luminar 3 in only 1 hour. Before you start watching, please sign up through the link under this video, because if you sign up you will get the raw files I'm going to use in this course for free, so you can basically edit with me by using the same raw files, and I also give you some free Luminar looks. And Luminar looks, if you don't know what Luminar looks are the presets and a very easy way to edit your photos. So sign up first, and if you like this video, if you like this course, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because soon we will publish more videos about Luminar 3. I will bring you to my screen so you can watch what Luminar 3 is and what you can do in Luminar 3. Enjoy watching this video, and if there are any questions, please let us know by sending an email. In this Luminar course I want to answer several questions, and the first questions I want to answer are about the catalog. And the first question is, what is a Luminar catalog? That's a question I hear quite often, and it's not so hard to understand. The catalog is actually the library you create in Luminar 3. So the library is what you see here. On the right side you can see all my folders with photos, and the photos are shown here. So I'm in an Iceland folder right now, and other information that's also stored in the catalog are the ratings you give to a photo, but also if you're gonna edit a photo, all the changes you make in a photo are also stored in that catalog. So in the end, the catalog file contains shortcuts to all the folders and the photos on your hard disk, plus the ratings you give to a photo, plus all the edits you do to a photo. So in the end, the catalog file is very important. If you lose it, it also means you lose all your edits if you didn't export any photo. So later in this course I will tell you about exporting photos, but for now that's what a catalog is. Actually it is your library and everything you can see right now in this screen. So then the next question is, how can you create a new Luminar catalog? And that's quite easy. If you go to File, on the top you go to Catalog, and here you can say New Catalog. Or if you already created one and you are in another catalog, you can open a catalog. So in the end it is possible to create more different catalogs. The only question is, do you really want that? Because if you have different catalogs, it also means that you have to open different catalogs maybe to get access to all your photos. So my advice is, only create new catalogs if there's a good reasoning behind. For example, if you make a lot of trips and you also do photography as your profession, and you do newborn photography, for example, it makes sense to split that up. So one catalog for your trips, one catalog for all the newborn shoots. But that's a good reason, but don't make a catalog for every shoot you do, because in the end it's very hard to find back all your photos. Then maybe you think, okay, if that catalog is so important, and if all the edits I do are also stored in the catalog, how can I make sure that the catalog doesn't disappear, for example? Well, the thing is, when you create a catalog, you can decide yourself where you want to save the catalog. And what I do is I store it in the pictures folders. I created a Luminar folder, and in the Luminar folder you can see this folder. It's Luminar 3 catalog 2019, and all the files that are in this folder are related to the catalog you see in the background. So this folder is very important. If I lose this folder, I lose a lot of information also. So I also advise you to make a backup of this folder regularly, because it's always nice to have a copy. And don't store this copy in the same hard disk, because if your hard disk crashes, then you lose both of the catalogs. So the original one where you work in and the copy, so that doesn't make sense. So make sure to store this folder in an external hard disk, or maybe in a USB stick, or if it's not too big, in an SD card, at least somewhere else. So that's my advice about creating a catalog backup. And since the backup functionality is not built in Luminar, it doesn't ask you to create a backup, so it's very easy to forget. But my advice is do it at least once a week or once in 2 weeks if you work in Luminar on a regular basis. So let's check the layout of Luminar itself. On the right side you see Library, Edit and Info. Library is new since Luminar 3. So if you're using Luminar 2018, you don't have the library yet. And Skylum offers you a free upgrade to Luminar 3. So with Luminar 3, you will have the library available also. So we have the edit and the info. Well, the info is not so special. So let's select a photo, go to info, and basically you can see your histogram and the camera you used, and well, some extra information, but not that much. Here on this bar you have some options, like how large you want to see those previews. Now I set it to medium, but you can also make it small or large or largest. So it's up to what you want. You can also use the minus and the plus to change it. So that's what ISA is doing. This is just to see where you are. So I'm in this folder, and this is the main folder. So basically the Iceland folder is the subfolder of my photograph Sony A7R3. Currently we are in the grid view, so that means you can see more photos at the same time. If you press this button, you will go to the single view. Well, it takes a while to load because I'm also recording. There it is. When you're in this view, you get some new options available here. Here you can see the Luminar looks. So basically Luminar looks are presets you can apply to a photo. So with one mouse click you apply a certain amount of edits to a photo. I don't like it to use it from the library, because I think it's better to do it from the edit module, because you can change the edits also if you want, and it's not possible to do that from this view. So if you don't like this part in the library, just press this icon and it will disappear. If you press this icon, you can also manage what you want to see and what not. So for example, the film strip is not available now, but if I click it on the left side, you get the previews of the photos in the folder. The side panel is this panel, so it's also possible to remove it if you want to create more space and want to focus more on the photos itself. And you can also remove the current photo actions, and the current photo actions are the actions you can apply to a photo. So the rating options here at the bottom. Those icons you can use to see the before and after. Since I didn't do anything with this photo yet, well, there is no difference, but later on we'll see. If you start editing a photo, you'll see the after by default, but you can always press this little eye to see how the original photo looks like. Oh, let's get back to the grid view, and let's tell you a little bit more about how to add folders and photos to the Luminar catalog. On the right side you can see all my folders. Basically for every shoot I create a new folder. I do it with, well, in this way. So for example 2018 10 for the month and 01, it's the date format I like to use because everything is in chronological order right now, and I like to add the topic so I know which photos I can expect in that folder. So to add new photos is pretty easy. There are two ways of doing it. If you want to add a big main folder, you just click the little plus here. It will open up a new screen. There it is. And just navigate to the folder you would like to add. So I can add, for example, well, this folder or this folder. It's also possible to only add a subfolder if you want, but you just select a folder, you press OK, and the folder, including subfolders if available, will appear here on the right side. If you went out shooting and you come back and you want to see the new photos you took in Luminar also, there is even an easier way to make those photos available in Luminar. What you can do is you just go to the File Explorer, and if you're using a Mac you can use the Finder. What you can do here is you can just create a new folder. So let's name it test folder Luminar. You can drag the folders from your SD card to this folder. Well, I don't have a SD card connected now, so what I'm gonna do is I just copy two of those photos, so you have at least a photo available in the new folder like this. And what you'll see here on the right side, the new folder is available right away. To change the name of a folder, it's also pretty easy. Just go to the folder you want to rename, press the right mouse button. You can see this option here, rename, and you can just change it to whatever you want. So that's an easy way to change the name of a folder. To change the name of a photo, it's a little bit more difficult. It's something that's not in Luminar itself. What I figure out is if you go to the folder where those photos are, and it's easy to press the right button again, go to Show in Explorer, so you're in the right folder. There are two photos here, like you can see in the background. What you can do, actually you can change the names here. So let's add new. And if you go to Luminar and you check info, the change is not there, but after you restarted Luminar, so just close the software and you open the software again, the name is different. And the great thing is Luminar doesn't lose the connection. If you're a Lightroom user, if you change the name in the File Explorer, you will always see an exclamation mark or a question mark because Lightroom cannot find the original photo anymore, but that's not happening in Luminar. So actually it is possible to change the names of the photos from the File Explorer itself. Now I will explain you how to move photos from one folder to another folder. So let's get back to Library and let's move this photo to one of those folders here. You can press the left button and it's very easy to drag it to another one. When you release it, after a few seconds it is removed. So when I go to this folder now, I think I have to go all to the end. Yeah, it is there right away. So I can also move it back. So it's just drag and drop, very easy, and it's not more than that. Maybe you want to remove photos from Luminar also, photos you don't like, or photos that are twice in Luminar. For example, the photos we copied to this folder. So it is possible to remove the photos. When you press the right mouse button, there is an option here to move to trash. And when you move it to the trash, if you go up to the shortcuts, you can see a trash can here, and what it does, it moves the photo first to the trash can, so it is not gone yet. But when you press this button, empty trash, then you get this message: are you sure you want to delete selected images? This action will permanently remove the images from your library and move the images to your system trash folder. So it means it will remove the photo from Luminar, and it will also remove the photo from the folder in the File Explorer to the system trash folder. So before the photo is really gone, you have to empty the system trash folder first. So press yes, and it is gone. Then maybe you want to remove a complete folder. That's also possible. As you can see, I have another test folder here. It is another color because the folder doesn't exist anymore in my File Explorer. It is a test folder I created before. I deleted the photos and I deleted the whole folder, because when I go to my hard disk to check where it is, you don't see it here. And this is one of the things I don't like about Luminar yet, because there is no way to remove it yet. If I press the right button, it is not possible to remove. So maybe there's a workaround. So let's say I create this folder again with exactly the same name, of course. Let's see if that is possible. It's also a little experiment by me now. It seems like it doesn't pick up the new folder yet. Well, let's focus on this one first. Maybe after I restart Luminar, it will be recognized again and I can remove it. So for this folder, for example, if I want to remove this folder, I press the right button and I press delete forever. Also here you get a warning: are you sure you want to delete the folder? Add path. No, you can't undo this action. Well, I press yes, I want to remove it. It is gone now. Here you don't see it except those folders. If I go to my File Explorer now, you will see the folder is gone. So it also means that the photo that was in the folder is removed. So that's something important to know. So only do this when you want to remove the photos from the folder itself too. In the meanwhile, I closed Luminar and I opened the software again. And if we go back to the bottom, to the last folder, what you can see right now is the folder is still another color, but at least the exclamation mark is gone. So it means it recognizes the folder again because we created it again. And let's see if we can remove it now. See, yeah, it is gone now. So okay, that is a workaround if you want to remove a folder that is still here, like this one, just create a new folder from the File Explorer, give it the same name. So in this case, make a new folder with the name new folder, restart Luminar, and you will be able to remove it. I'm pretty sure Skylum will bring a fix for this to make it easier, but if you're annoyed by this and you want to remove it, this is the way to go. There are two more things I want to show you before we go to the editing part. That's where the real fun is going to start, of course. The first thing is the albums. It's sometimes nice to create albums. For example, if you made a nice trip like the trip I did to Iceland, you made a lot of photos and you want to have your best photos or the photos you want to print, it's easy to put them in an album so you have them all together. So the way to create an album is pretty easy. What you can do is you can select one or more photos of the photos you want to have in the album, of course. So I press the Control button to select a few more photos like this. Then I press the right button of the mouse and I say Create Album. You can give it a name. I call it Best of Iceland, and that's basically it. And also, if you want to add more photos, it's very easy. Just go back to my Iceland folder. Suppose I want to add this folder, this photo. I just drag and drop it to the album. Last thing I want to show you is how to rank the photos. So suppose we are in a folder like this one, the Iceland folder again. So how the photos are shown is basically by capture time. That's my favorite one, but it's also possible to change it to a rating. For example, if you apply ratings, it's possible to do it by color label. That's one of some things I didn't discuss yet. Edit sort by editing time, also a possibility. So there are many different ways. The rating I didn't discuss here. There's a YouTube video in our channel, a separate video about this topic, so check it out if you want to know more about how to rate photos in Luminar. Alright, let's go to the editing part of Luminar. Let's see which photo we are gonna use for that. I think this photo will be nice. So I select it, I press edit, and it brings up a new screen. So what you need to know about editing photos in Luminar is that you can always go back to the beginning, which means you keep the original file. Also, when you open the original file from the File Explorer to another photo editing tool like Photoshop, or maybe you have something else, you open the original file. All the edits are registered in the catalog itself, so only Luminar is able to show the changes you make right here. Of course, there's a way to print all the photos with the changes you make in Luminar, but first you have to export the photo. I'll show how to export a photo after I did a photo edit from this photo. So what you need to know about this screen, on the right side you can see filters, and filters are the way to develop, to edit the photo in Luminar. In Luminar you can find over 50 filters, so it's quite a lot. If you look at here, you can find all the filters. It's too much to discuss all in this course. Maybe I will create a more extended version of the course later on that goes in depth in every single filter. But what I want to do is I just want to show you my workflow, how I use Luminar, and I think it's a good way to edit the photos. Also, if you don't want to spend too much time on every photo. Luminar, the editing part, works with workspaces, and a workspace is basically a combination of filters. So right here we can see the professional workspace, and that's the workspace I use a lot. It starts with raw develop, then there's the filter denoise, we have the filter saturation and vibrance, we have the AI filters for the photo in general and for the sky. Those filters are really powerful. That's really why I like Luminar so much, because in a few seconds you can make your photo so much better by only using those AI filters. Oh, I'll show you later. Dehaze, remove color cast, advanced contrast, curves. Well, there are many filters already in a professional workspace. If that's a little bit too much for you and you just start with editing photos, maybe you can go to the essential workspace, because it has less filters and it's not so overwhelming in the beginning. So maybe it's nice to just use this workspace for this first photo. So what I'm gonna do, I start with the AI filter because it improves the whole photo in general. And what you can see if you press the little I is how the photo was and how it is. If you press this I, it always shows the original photo and how it is with all the edits applied. But if you want to see the individual effect of a filter, you can press this I. So you can turn it off. This is without the AI filter, this is with the AI filter. Okay, well, there are the highlights in this photo, not so much, maybe a little bit here in the house. So I pull down the highlights a little bit to get more details. I want a bit more contrast, so let's put the blacks in minus, and I want a little bit of clarity. I think that makes the photo also nicer, not too much. The sky enhancer, well, there's not really, in general this filter works pretty well if you have a blue sky or a blue sky with clouds, and here it's no, there is a cloud, a big cloud actually, very low. But yeah, it doesn't make the sky much better. Well, let's apply it a little bit. Let's check what the vibrance and the saturation can do. In general, I like saturated photos, so maybe you think he adds a lot of extra color, but that's just a matter of personal taste, and that's the beauty of editing photos, of course. If you use a filter, you can see the color has changed, so that's also a good thing to see, good thing to know, and it gives you you see right away which filters you used and which filters not. If you wonder what is the impact of the AI sky enhancer filter, well, then you can press this I, as I explained you before. So it's just very subtle, it's not a big change. This is the effect of saturation and vibrance that has a bigger impact. Structure, I want to check what it does. I think that's, yeah, I was already afraid of that. It makes the photo very harsh. I don't like it. I don't use it for, want to use it for this photo. Vignette might work. You can make the corners a bit darker. Also to create a little bit of more a moody atmosphere in this photo, because it was raining at that time, it was very windy. Not very nice weather conditions, but that's how Iceland is, and it's nice. It's nice to have wind, rain, sun, clouds, everything in 5 minutes. The feather, you can make it like this. It's not nice, of course, so make sure the feather is, usually I don't go in minus, but I move it from 0 up to, well, 80 maximum, and it depends on the photo. So also, this has a very nice effect, I think. And very nice from Skylum is you can replace the center if you want. For this photo I don't have to replace the center, but in general, as you can see from this view, the center is always in the middle, and if you're a Lightroom user, yeah, the center is always in the middle. You cannot replace it, and the only way to change it is by not using a vignette, but by using the radial filter in Lightroom. But this is of course way easier, because I can say I want this bridge to be the center, and what you can see is the whole vignette moves to the left. Well, for this photo I don't want it. I want the center just to be in the center. Oh, now it's a little bit off center, but like this. So the feather, I pull it up to make it nice. You can even increase the light in the middle a little bit if you want it. So you make this part brighter. I don't want it for this photo. Maybe we can apply this for the next photo. Now I applied everything, but if you think, well, I think I've missed something, or I want to change something else, the beauty of how Luminar works is you can just add a filter. You can even add a filter you already applied. So it means you can apply 2 filters, 2 times the same filter in the same photo if you want. Let's check what we have, what I want to add. I think I want to add some advanced contrast. It's a long list, as you can see, but you can search, so that's very nice. Add advanced contrast. So what it does is it adds a filter at the bottom, and what you can do in this filter is you can add contrast, but it's not contrast in the whole photo right away, but you can add it only in the highlights, in the midtones, or in the shadows, or a lot in the midtones and just a bit in the highlights. So that's very nice. You can have more control over how the contrast is added in the photo. I think I want it like this. I like the extra contrast here in the mountain. Maybe you can make that even a bit more visible. Yeah, like this. I like it like this. Good. Okay. So far this photo, if you applied all those filters and in the end you think, maybe it's a little bit too much, what you can do is you can lower the filter amount. So the overall effect you applied, you can decrease it a little bit. So that's also very nice if you think you went a little bit too far. What I forgot to show you, in the raw develop filter, there is more than just what we did here. Of course, there's the white balance you can change, but there is also a lens correction you can apply. So the lens distortion will be removed just by one single mouse click. Also the chromatic aberration will be removed if it's there, and if possible you can transform the photo, but I don't think it's needed in this photo. So what I explained you before, suppose you want to use this photo with those edits and you want to make a print of it. If you send the original RAW file to the photo lab, you will get a printed photo, but a printed photo from the original photo. So what you have to do is you have to export this photo, and basically it exports it how you can see it right now. And you can export it by pressing this little icon here on the right. I see the vignette is still on the filter. I have to press done to apply the vignette. And now I can export the image. This window will show up. Actually, it's not so complicated. You select the location where you want to save the photo. It can be in the same folder, of course, but you can also make a separate folder for all the photos you export from Luminar. Then you have to select the format. If you want to make a print of a photo, or you want to use the photo in the internet or in Facebook or in Instagram, you have to select JPEG. There is a possibility to sharpen the photo. I don't recommend to use this because you never know how much sharpening Luminar is going to use. So if you want to sharpen the photo, I recommend you to do it yourself with the sharpening filter. I didn't show it to you in this for this photo, but it's also here when you click add filters. Then there's the possibility to resize a photo. If you want to use a photo for the internet, you don't have to export the full size image because the file probably will be too heavy for the website you're going to use it for. So what you can do is you can basically say, let's have 2000 pixels in the long edge. That will be more than enough. Then the color space. I don't want to go in depth in this video about the color space, but in general, for online use, select sRGB. For most printing companies, sRGB is also recommended. Only when you go to a more professional printing facility, it can be recommended to select one of the others. Same thing for the resolution. 72 is more than enough for online use. For displays, for printing, it's a different story, but I don't want to go into that in this video because it's a whole other topic. Then in the end, the quality, you can export the full quality. Do that if you want to print a photo. If you want to use it online and you want to reduce the size a little bit, you can go for example for 80. The quality will be a little bit less, but it's not so bad that it is really visible. So if you go very low, like 50%, then the quality will be bad, and you will see actually differences between what you see now here in the background and the exported image. So don't go too low in quality. Then you press export and it brings the photo to this location. So that's how it works if you want to export an image and if you want to use a photo for online use or for printing or for any other purpose. Let's edit another photo because there are more filters. So I think if I select another photo, more other filters will be interesting to use. And I also want to show you the Luminar looks, because the Luminar looks are very funny to use and it can also be very surprising to use. And sometimes it leads into edits you wouldn't make yourself, but edits that really work well. Let's edit this photo, also a photo taken from Iceland. This time I'm going to use the professional workspace, so there will be a little bit more filters available here on the right side. As you can see in this photo, the colors are not super nice. There was a little bit of light, there was a shower here in the background. That's why I stopped the car and to take the photo. There's a little spot here in the camera sensor. I want to remove it. And as you can see, the lens hood was not attached in the right way, so there are very strange dark corners. So let's see what we can do in this photo to make it better. I want to start with the lens distortion. As you can see, it already solves the issue in the corners, well, almost, not completely. Okay, what I want to use first in this photo is the AI filter again. Did you see that? This is what I mean by a powerful filter. I only use one slider and I go from this to this. It's crazy. Let's check the AI sky enhancer. Also, that makes it a bit bigger. What I really like by applying this filter in this photo is that you can see a bit more detail in this part of the cloud. I will show you. I turn it off and on. So, as you can see, I only work in this photo for 30 seconds and we already have a huge improvement. So what do I want to change? I want to see if I can get more detail in the clouds, even more detail. Let's see what the highlights are doing when I pull it down. I think that makes it a bit better. Yeah, it makes it a bit better. The whites makes it worse. Let's not use it. I want to open up the shadows a little bit so it gets brighter in this part. Let's see what the clarity does, but I don't think it will do a good job because there is too much detail here. Yeah, it looks like it gives a nice touch to the photo, but I'll zoom in a little bit more to be sure. Yeah, in the end I think it does do a good job in this photo. Especially here you get more details. So I like the clarity, so let's keep it in 30. The denoise, I don't have to use it. I took this photo with a very low ISO, so I know there is no noise in this photo. Saturation, I think the colors are already quite saturated. Of course, there's always a possibility to do more, but as you can see, you can also ruin a photo. The vibrance, same story. But what I want to try is to change the color of the grass here a little bit. I think we can work on that, but it's not possible to do it by using those sliders because they affect the whole photo and I only want to change one color here. But there is another filter we can use for that. Let's see if it's here. Yes, it is. The HSL. As you can see, in the HSL filter, colors are split up, which means you can have more control over how the colors look like in your photo. So what I want to try first is the luminance. This basically tells you, for example, the blue, if you want to have light blue or dark blue. So it doesn't change the color itself. Blue stays blue, but you can make it brighter or darker, and that's how it works with all those sliders if you select luminance here. So for here we have a lot of, well, yellow, probably also a bit of orange and maybe a bit of green. So let's see what happens if I do this. And this is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it a bit brighter. Let's increase the green also. The green is more in this part. And the orange maybe, yeah, but that doesn't make it better. So I keep the orange in 0. Then the saturation. Let's add some yellow. Not the orange, doesn't make it nicer. Green, a little bit. So let's check the difference. It was this, and it's this now. I think that's a pretty nice result. Good. Split toning I don't want to use for this photo. Structure also not. We already used clarity. There are some filters like structure, detail enhancer, clarity. They don't do the same, but if you combine them, it's usually too much. It's over the top. So I recommend you to be careful with that. Vignette, let's check if it's nice for this photo. And also vignette, I like to use it, but I know it's also a matter of personal taste. Sometimes you get a vignette from the lens itself, so basically it's a mistake from the lens, and now here I'm adding it again. But the thing I like about a vignette is that you point the eye more to the center of the photo, and what I like most in this photo is the cloud you see here. So what I can do now I can place the center here. So the center is here, right here now, but I want to replace the center a little bit to this part. So the result is a bigger part of the left side gets darker because of the vignette, and well, the top right side is not affected at all. And to show you, this is basically what happens. So the vignette is applied here, and that's how I want it, because I want a bit more attention to this part of the photo. Can even make it a bit more light inside. So without, with. I think it's funny to see how big the difference is by pointing the eye to a certain direction, because that's what I'm doing now. I point the eye more to this part of the photo, and if it's like this, it's still a good looking photo, it's still nice, but it's more the photo, it's the complete photo where you look at. And if you make it like this, probably the cloud is the first thing you will see. Alright, well, as I said before, there are a lot of filters you can use. I also wanted to show you some tools, because apart from the filters you can also use tools in Luminar. The tools you can use, crop for example. So if I want to change this, well, what I think is nice is to have a more, well, maybe the 16 by 19 is nice for this. In general it works quite well for landscape photos like this. No, I don't like it. That can happen also. Well, it's always easy to undo. Also good to know how you undo edits. So you can go to edit here and say undo, but what you can do also, if you want to remove an edit, you can go to this little icon here on top of the histogram, and here you basically see every single step you applied, and you can scroll all the way down, and as you can see, you can always go back to the original image, as I told you before. In this case I only want to go back one step. I go back to the crop. I want to crop it a bit, but not too much. Now the aspect ratio is locked, which means I can do whatever I want, but I end up with a 3:2 aspect ratio, because that's how the camera sensor is. But you can also put it in 3 or just unlock it, and if I pull this one down, now you can see that the aspect ratio is changing. let's keep it like this. Press done to apply it. I also want to remove this little spot, the dust of the camera sensor. Different ways of doing it. You can use the clone and stamp tool. Also the erase tool will work 9 out of 10 times. So let's check how the result is. The eraser can be used if you want to remove things from your photo, like little like people, or like a traffic sign, or well, what you can see here, a little spot. I just select it. It's just a small area, and let's press done to see if it erased the right thing. Well, it's gone, so I think it did a good job. Yeah. So the problem is also solved. And what you can see here, it adds a new layer. That's what it does if you use the clone and stamp tool or the eraser. So if you think, well, where are all the filters now? The filters are in this layer. So all the filters applied, all the changes applied are here, and you can still change them. And as you can see, the dot is back now. That's because we are working in this layer. But if you select the layer on top, this layer is also applied, and which means that the eraser is applied to this photo, and now the spot is gone. So you can work with different layers in Luminar, and actually it is kind of a combination between the possibilities you have in Lightroom and some handy tools and functionalities of Photoshop. Because also in the layers here you can apply masks if you only want to apply the effect in a certain part, and also in every filter you can apply masks. But also that's something I don't cover in this mini course of Luminar, because otherwise the length of this video will end up with maybe 3 or 4 hours. So we've seen new filters now in this photo, and well, the difference is huge, as you can see, but most of the improvement came from the AI filters. So my recommendation is to use those filters first before you start using the other filters. Let's do one last photo, and with this photo I want to show you the power of Luminar looks. Luminar looks are presets, and with just one single click you apply different filters, different settings to one photo, and what you can see is, well, with one single click I came from this to this. And with Luminar looks, it's always trying a little bit to see what works, what doesn't work, and yeah, it doesn't mean that there is always a look that works in your photo, but it's also the understanding of how to use those Luminar looks, because you can apply it like this and say, I don't like it, and you just try another one. But in my opinion, you have to use Luminar looks to create a good starting point, and from there you can always make your own changes. So it gives you maybe very good ideas of the way you want to edit it, but don't expect to have a finished photo right away. So you have to do a little bit more of effort for that. So the Luminar looks are in different categories. Those Luminar looks are all in the Essentials category. If you press this button you get more. Maybe you see more Luminar looks collections than you have right now, but I recommend you to press this button, get more. It will bring you to the Skylum website, to the marketplace, and there you can find a lot of free Luminar looks collections. Basically, I think 90% of what you see here is free to download from the website of Skylum. So what I want to do with this photo, I think it will be a very nice photo if I make it black and white. So for example, this one is a classic black and white Luminar look, and I can say right now I don't like it too much, but as I told you before, sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit yourself by adding a little bit more contrast, for example, maybe get more details in the highlights, or you can try another Luminar look. So I have this one, this collection. Let's try what works and what doesn't work. What I like about this one more is that you get more structure in the stones. I think it's nice to have a lot of detail in the stones here. And if you go to this one, it doesn't have so much detail. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm also looking for some details here. What you can see very clearly here, you have dark and bright, dark and bright. If I go back to the other one, it is more, yeah, it's also dark and not so bright. It's more like grayish mid-tone. It doesn't give a high contrast here. That's what I like better in this Luminar look. Well, let's try a bit more. Well, here is the contrast even much higher, but I think this is too much. This is too soft. It's also more called smooth, so sometimes from the name you can already see what to expect. Also this one, well, it's called Foggy Day, but it's too bright in the water. London is too dark for me. So what I usually do is I just go through some Luminar looks to see what it is doing, and so far this one is my favorite one. So let's use this one and try to make it even better. If you think the effect is applied too much, you can always say, okay, the amount should be a bit lower. But since we came from a photo in color here, you can see the colors come back. So then basically it isn't a black and white photo anymore. So I want a black and white photo, so I cannot use the amount here, but that's no problem because I still have many options here on the right side. What's the most important thing in this photo? Of course, the waterfalls. So what I want to try is I want to see if I can get a little bit more detail in the falling water here and in the moving water. And I think the foreground and the corners are a little bit too bright, so I want to apply a vignette again. It's already applied, I see. It doesn't do much. Let's apply it more then. With the feather, usually I use the feather around 50 because I think it gives a nice result. And sometimes I put the feather here just to make more clear how the shape of the vignette is. I think in this case it's nicer to make the size a bit smaller because, as you can see right now, all the waterfalls are in the circle, and well, now they're still in the circle, but you cover a bigger area. But as I said before, the waterfalls are the main subject. Let's do it like this. I don't want to make it brighter. Yeah, maybe it's nice to make it brighter, but only if I'm able to get more detail afterwards by pulling down the highlights a bit more. Yeah, what you can see right here is the highlights are affected also in the sky, while I only want to affect it here in the water. So I didn't want to cover it in this course, but see it as an extra bonus. I'm gonna do it. What I'm gonna do is I am gonna apply a new filter. There is a filter called highlights shadows. Maybe a bit confusing because we already had a highlight filter here, and that's in a tone filter. If no, there's no raw develop filter in this workspace, but there's also a highlight filter, and now here we have another one. In general they all do the same, so that's also what I meant. As I said before, you can use the same sliders or the same filters more than one time in the same photo. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pull down the highlights until I'm happy with what I see here. I don't look at the sky now. I know it affects the sky and I don't want it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a mask in this filter. So if you're used to work with Photoshop with layers and layer masks, this is the same idea, but you only apply the mask now to this filter. So what I do is I press this little arrow, I say mask, and in this case I'm going to invert it, which means that the effect is not applied. You can see a new icon here. It is black, which means the whole photo, the effect is not applied. As soon as some parts here get white, the effect is applied in that part. So we have to make this part white. We can do it by using a brush or also a radial mask, but in this case I go for the brush, and I'm gonna paint in the effect and only where I want it to be visible. So you can see a big part is white now, and that's where the -28 highlights is applied now. The opacity, I put it in 50, so which means that the effect is not fully applied. I can go over some parts. Then you even see some difference here. Some parts are brighter than the other ones, which means that the effect is applied 50% in some parts and 100% in the other parts, because if I apply 2 times 50 you end up in 100. So in the end, as you can see, the effect is only applied in the waterfalls. And you know what? I don't like the effect at all. So also that happens. So no, in the end I don't. I like it better with the higher contrast. So when it's bright. So what I'm gonna do is I remove it, delete, and the filter is gone. The effect is gone. The mask is gone. So that's how it is. All right. That's what I wanted to show you with this photo. I applied a luminar look first. I adjusted it a little bit by increasing the vignette, and that's my idea of how you have to use the luminar look. So don't think right away it doesn't work for this photo. Just try to pick one that looks okay and then bring it yourself from okay to good. Well, that was a lot of information about Luminar 3. I hope you learned something new and you can get more out of the software. And the only thing I want to do is to thank you for watching this video. And if you want to help me, please send this course to all your photography friends so they can learn more about Luminar too. Thank you for watching and see you soon in the next video.